I've got a multi-tool mystery today, and I've been trying to track this down and figure this out. I don't have all the information, but I'm going to let you guys know my journey so far. So I've been on the journey to collect some of these Sebertools, however you pronounce that. And I bought this one from eBay, and I was very excited because there is a collector's group. I don't even know where they're at, but these get bid up to like $70 for these little keychain tools, $70, $100 for some of these different versions. There's an M2, an M3, and an M4 that seem a little bit more popular. And then they were taken over by, I think it was IDL or something like that. And they transitioned from being a US-based multi-tool company to overseas. Now, these will draw strongly off the Swiss Tech. They look very similar to the Swiss Tech design. And I'm sort of surprised that these haven't caught on more, both of these designs right here, because I feel like Nextdoor Roxxon can make a really nice version of this. And they are a very handy tool, not only to have on your keychain, but more kid-friendly than a lot of other tools. But that there doesn't seem to be a huge interest in that market at the moment. I do feel like these possibly would be, oh, there we go. So these do not fold out or switch like the Swiss Tech. So notice that the Swiss Tech goes like this. These actually have back and forth movement like that, and they feel a lot sturdier. There's just a level of quality that these tools have that the Swiss Tech doesn't. While I'm not sure that this is even an original tool, it does bear most all the characteristics of the M2 tool right here. This is written in several different languages. I've got to flip it over until I get to English. So here is the fine pliers with interlocking teeth, wire cutters, strippers, poly washers, 1 to 3 or 1.3 ounces rather, interlocking key ring holder, standard and Phillips screwdriver, snap open close handles, positive stops reduce handling or handle flexing, and then large teeth fit various nuts and bolts. The one thing I did not mention is there is a tiny wire stripper right there. These feel very sturdy. Now, I do think there is a possibility that something like this could even be fit in a belt buckle. This is a perfect little survival multi-tool to put in some of the small EDC kits. I feel like this has so many possibilities, and to date, this is the best small multi-tool this small that I have ever found. So the M2 is definitely something to look into. They are $30 to $70 for the original ones that have USA stamped and the company name stamped on the other side. This one, I'm not sure, but even if it's a copy, it is really, really good. Now let's move on to a couple other ones that I found. Now, first, before I move on, I did want to mention that I found this Swiss Tech, and I think this is being sold on AliExpress for maybe around $8. Once you handle the older multi-tools, this feels like really cheap. It has a Phillips of sorts, screwdriver, a knife, and then a file and the screwdriver. I'll try to leave a link below. I know some of you just want a very cheap tool. This will work, but the handles, yeah, are really sort of sketchy. I would recommend just spending a little bit extra and buying the original thing. This is an option if you have to have a cheap version. Now, as far as the M4, these are very expensive, even more than the M2, and they just go for crazy prices on eBay. So I found two of these with USA stamped on them, but they do not have the company logo stamped on the other side. So usually USA stamped on one side, and then I think the M4 is stamped on the other side. But they did make some of these for craftsmen, and what I saw on this one right here, if I can focus, is it looks like the craftsman is wearing off. It used to have printing all around that middle pivot, And I'm going to assume that that's what happened to this one, that maybe the lettering just sort of wore off. And maybe both of these were the Craftsman made variant of the M4. I'm going to hope, hopefully they're not copies or clones, but if they are, I think they're pretty good copies. Now, with these, you have the file, and the file comes to a point, which is really different. And then it has this tool that looks very much like the same tool on the Micra. Screwdriver, and then the bottle opener. And then on the outside is a pair of tweezers. Very, very small set of tweezers. Now, these actually, some of these are locking. I think on this one, and maybe my lock doesn't work anymore, but I thought some of these were locking. It sort of holds in place. On the other side, it does have a knife. Now that locks. Yeah, so I think some of these tools are a little bit worn on mine. That locks, and then when you open this, you can unlock it. I think that's how it's originally supposed to do, and that locks as well. Yeah, so some of these locks are not working. And so Phillips, and then this flat, and this knife has really been used. Wow, that's been sharpened. It looks like a lot of times right there. So, whoa, almost cut myself. But yeah, on some of these older models, I think the locks aren't really working. Let's see how this one is over here. This should be about the same. The Phillips, or it should be exactly the same actually. It's a little bit hard getting these out. Here's the knife on this one. This one actually locks into place. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to be. I think you were supposed to be able to, push this in and then it unlocks. That's how that works. So with this one, for some reason this one, I guess it locks in place. Well, but then you can defeat the lock. Anyway, it's a really unique tool. I love to get some of these older tools that a lot of people aren't talking about anymore, and they really need to be reintroduced into the multi-tool world. I feel like surely there's a market for this. It might need to be reconfigured, used as a belt buckle, used in tandem with something else, but there's definitely still a market that could use this tool. So make sure that if you see the M2 or the M3 or the M4, now this one right here, or the M3 rather, was a combination, I think, between the two. They actually had tools that came out of the Phillips and the flat. I will be looking for an M3, and maybe I'll be able to give a review of that later on. But so far I found these, and I'm really happy to add these to my collection. Even though the locks aren't in perfect condition, these are some really cool tools to have, and some of the best small tools that I have ever seen.